Today is Gilbert Slanted Sled Day. So I took the oil pan off. You guys didn't need to see that. It's just bolts. Who cares? And got the oil pan here. Looks good. There's just a slight bit of sludge down in there, but nothing crazy. I mean, cars really hasn't been driven much since 1987, looks like. And I don't see anything screaming out obvious as problem. There's plenty of room on everything. Looks like the builder did a halfway decent job. So far, I'm going to pop this stuff apart and let's go from there. Moving on. Well, it's apart. We've taken it all apart, got the crank out, and just looking at some of things on it, I mean, it looks okay. There's really nothing crazy about it. I didn't see anything destruction. I did, however, see some of this stuff, which I didn't like, which I typically always see. And so these slant sixes is in the back here. Let me get a flashlight. You can usually see how much mud is usually built up inside there. It's a terrible amount of mud. And now in here, if you can see inside that hole right there, that's about 2 inches thick of mud in there. You can see it up against that wall right there, piled up. Now I could scrape all that out and we could probably get something with this. As far as the lip, I mean, I can kind of feel something right there, but I haven't bore measured this yet. Oil pan looks okay. There's nothing, like I said, you can see where you hit something. But this is one of those where, you know, obviously the plug doesn't go all the way to the bottom, so it's going to build up some crap in the bottom. But usually that's a little telltale sign. There's really nothing, I don't see anything in there. So then I did find some odd things though on the bearings. So this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Number 1 bearing looks pretty, looks crazy. Let's see if I can get an overhead shot here. But what's weird is that if you look here, you can see that it looks like it's got beat marks on it. Obviously, we know that the timing was way advanced. So this is number 3. Number 4, I mean, if you look at that bearing, it looks like someone was beaten on it. Here's number 5, and then here's number 6. Once again, like someone was beaten on it. What's weird is that the number 2, the number 4, and the number 6 looks like someone was beating on them. The number 5 just got this big groove through it. Number 3 has got a groove through it. Number 1 just looks like it's tore up with a groove. Just odd stuff. Another thing I noticed too is that all the rings were pretty much lined up on that one. That one was also lined up. This one here was pretty much lined up on the back side, which created a little bit of a groove right there, which is weird. This one was actually a little bit fine. As far as how smooth they are, they seem to turn smooth. The mains, same kind of story. This is the number 1. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. But you can see that it's got a groove, once again, through it. You can see that there's a little bit of a groove there. I was thinking that it was on the crankshaft, but we're going to go look at the crankshaft in just a second. This is the thrust. Looks okay so far. And that's got a little bit of, it's just odd. Now, I wasn't able to put these back in the block because they've kind of lost some of their spring, which normally tells me they got hot, but I'm not really seeing any hot marks on this or starved for oil or something, but I don't know. I mean, some of these bearings look like they got a little warm on the side, but then you would see something, and I'm not seeing anything. So, just weird. All right, so let's move over to the crankshaft. So the crank looks halfway decent. Obviously, this is the back. The mainsail was a little tight. Obviously, since it's not a rope, it was just a lip, and then they didn't grind down a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to polish this up, and I'll put a groove back in this thing, and I'll make the groove go there. Now I can feel this, but it goes in. So what I'm thinking, since this crank is 1010, I did measure it. I believe that was a groove that was there beforehand, because it goes in. I was thinking that maybe it was on the chamfer. They cut a little chamfer on these things. This right here is the number 5. And you can see where they chamfered them. You got a little bit of a came off a little bit there. Bearing looks good. Bearing looks good. You can see another little chamfer they put in there. And then here's the number 1, which looked like it was crazy bad. The number 2, believe it or not, is the worst one. I can feel every groove there with my fingernail. This one here also too, you can, that groove goes way in there. I can feel that significantly. But looking at the chamfer, it's definitely not on the chamfer. So I measured the crank, and this is what we got. On the rods, 2.1767, 69, 70, 68, 67, 66. As far as the rods, it tells me it's about 10. On the mains, a little bit of a spread here, nothing crazy. But that one is quite a far off right there, comparatively to, like, say, the next one. So knowing that the number 2 main, this one right here, is the farthest one, let's go look at it. All right, so we're looking at the number 2 main. Now, since this is the smallest in diameter, it should have the most clearance. But what's weird about this one is that, now this one here obviously was the biggest, so it would be getting the most amount of heat, which makes a little bit of sense. But what's weird about this one, which leads me to be, I don't know, I'm going to check this crank for straightness, but what's weird is that in here, you can see how much color that thing's got on it for this one right here. So now, once again, I haven't measured these bearings because I can't get a good mic on these things. I can't, I mean, I can try it. I could try it again, but I wasn't happy with it. But I mean, that's 7/10 of a thousand. It's almost 1,000ths difference right there. It's quite a bit. I measured these things 4 or 5 times to make sure they're right. So, well, this is just part of the process of taking it apart, seeing what we got. As far as what I'm going to do with this, I'm probably going to, I don't know, I'm going to talk to him, but I'm probably going to do a different block. This is not really, this would be a good block for race car stuff, maybe, if I can get the crap out of it. I've got another block over here. Actually, I got a few blocks, but this one right here is right around the same time period. And it's a virgin block. It's, 0, 0. It's still got rods and everything in it. I might just use that one. I don't know. I don't know yet. So that's our slanted sled update, where I'm at right now. I believe we're probably going to do new pistons. Some of these have got some pretty decent grooves in them where they're just scored. I think it was just a little tight on all these. All these just seem to be a little tight. Like I said, my next thing is I'm going to measure the bore, but there's really no point in showing any of that. So that's where we're at. A little update on the slanted sled, and we'll be moving forward. All right, hope you guys like the update. We'll be moving and grooving. All right, peace out.